Good Tuesday morning to you, Roger Hill of Wuthering Heights and the Radio Vermont Group. This weather video is driven by 802cars.com, representing 802 Toyota, Twin Cities Subaru, and 802 Honda, all located off of Exit 7 on I-89. We're looking at this spinning action here of this upper level low, and this is bringing in swaths of precipitation, even some thunderstorms earlier on around the Massachusetts-New Hampshire border. You can see a couple thunderstorms here. This band is kind of in a dying state, but sort of a primer shower, if you will, that we are starting to see some extra moisture beginning to work into the region. And this is going to be primarily across Orleans, Essex, Caledonia, maybe some parts of Lamoille, probably Washington, certainly Orange County, as well as potentially further off to the south across portions of Addison County, Rutland, Windsor, Bennington, and Windham. These particular areas will probably see the best chance for thunderstorms, potentially just a little bit east of the central and north central Green Mountains, and then up in the Northeast Kingdom, maybe one of the greater highlights. And then later in the afternoon, late in the day, we could see the most action along the Connecticut River Valley, where Cape values will be at its highest, instability at its best, probably sometime after around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, something like that, before things begin to wind down. Okay, first things first, we're looking at the European model, and you can see the upper level system with some precipitation. Currently, this is valid at 2 o'clock, or between now and 2 o'clock, this precipitation will have fallen. That looks to be about very accurate. So the European has a very good handle on it. Doesn't really bring as much precipitation into Vermont. If you notice, we dropped down a few hundredths of an inch. So this thing may fall apart a little bit this afternoon. That's a little bit of a model contradiction there. But it moves on into the Gulf of Maine, and it's out of here tonight. So nothing to worry about much past around 8 or 9 o'clock this evening. So we're going to start with precipitable water, and you start seeing these greens here. This is pretty high moisture here, greater than 1 inch. And so some of these thunderstorms could produce locally heavy rainfall if you sit over one particular area. You can see the upper low moving off to the north and east very gradually. It's also pushing in along the Connecticut River Valley some higher precipitable water. And you can see that spreads in. This is roughly about 5 o'clock this evening, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and so forth. So this particular area, I think, north central Vermont, Barre Montpelier area into the Northeast Kingdom, probably stands one of the better chances to see shower and thunderstorms this afternoon. Lightning probably more than likely to be sparse and fairly short-lived, but I think there'll be a little bit more action based off this than what we saw last Sunday. And looking at convective available potential energy, this is 11 o'clock, noon, 1 o'clock. In these lighter greens here, we're starting to get into some pretty good capes. Something to watch would be Mount Mansfield, roughly by around 12 noon into 1 o'clock. Mount Washington is what I'm trying to say, the presidential range, and then into parts of Maine. I think we'll pop a couple lightning strikes at that point in time, and then this continues to sort of circulate in from the east and northeast, and you can see roughly about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, conditions are starting to go the other way, and the cape's starting to fall apart a little bit. For simulated radar, you can see that this is 11 o'clock when we start to see instability showers, and things should start to develop. Keeping your eye on the Mount Washington area, or coming off the Mount Washington area into the Northeast Kingdom. Starting to see some thunderstorm development roughly in the Barre Montpelier area. That would be about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. If it's going to catch up here, there we go. That's 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock, things are starting to digress and dissipate out. So keeping your eye on this stuff earlier on this morning, you can see the thunderstorms begin to flare up. About a 20% chance and about 30% chance, and that seems to be the axis. Connecticut River Valley into southern parts of the state, and that shifts a little bit more to the Northeast Kingdom. As we get into roughly around 8 p.m. this evening, and then things begin to wind down quickly. Looking at winds aloft, relatively light. We're talking about 20-25 knots of shear, so no real issues there. Most unstable cape. This is centered, by the way, on Montpelier, Vermont, about a little over 500, meaning that's probably good enough to pop a thunderstorm cell or two. And then during the day tomorrow, we have another issue to worry about. And looking at max ensemble lightning from the WRF model, you can see over eastern New England this begins to spread in. This is by around 3 o'clock this afternoon. That would be 4, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, and so forth. Roger Hill, Wuthering Heights.